What's up with it, man? Polo Sports Talking Entertainment here again with another one. Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not a member, and also hit the notifications so that you're able to get each and every one of my videos. Okay. Now, I don't have nothing on here yet, and I'm gonna get to that in just a second. Now, Shannon Sharp, man, had basically, came out today and was of course, always capping like he usually does. Now there's some instances when Shannon Sharp is usually on point with what he says, but for the most part, everything that he said, man, was so overstated. You know, and for him to sit up there and say that this team, the Lakers, who he's talking about right now, uh, how he's saying, okay, well, this team reminds me of LeBron's, uh, stint in Cleveland. Now, if he's talking about, the first stint in Cleveland when they had actually made it to the finals, and I'm just going to use this as an example, he can't be talking about a team like that. Okay. Now, I want to give a shout out to the brother Too Raw for TV. If you haven't subbed to Too Raw for TV's channel, definitely go sub to his channel. He has multiple channels, okay? And is, of course, the historian of the highest order in the LDBC community as well, you know. Um, I want people to really key in on this score right here. I know some people like, well, what's the deal, Polo? They lost. Why are you showing this? What's the point of this? Is because for one, uh, LeBron, as much shit as they talk about LeBron and as much stuff that they have to say about LeBron, right? Well, now guess what? This was the '07 finals, all right, and LeBron had only been playing 4 years. Uh, some guys never even get to a finals in their career. Some guys never even make it to an Eastern Conference final. Now, the fact that he made it to the finals was impressive in his fourth year. And I know that they're gonna bring up, Magic Johnson, and they're gonna bring up, other past legends that have made it before that. But the fact that LeBron had made it was great. All right, let's just get that out of the way. But see, what you're not realizing though is that when Shannon Sharp makes a statement like that, saying that, oh, okay, well, man, this remind me of the man. This remind me of when they played in Cleveland, and and all this other stuff. Hey, buddy, you're not looking at the fact that when when they played, uh, a couple of those games they were barely losing. Now let's look at the roster, and we'll do it in comparison to who he has right now. Now, let's just get it out of the way. In game one of the finals, everybody knows that the Cleveland Cavaliers only lost by 9. All right, 76-85, and they yes, LeBron, and the Cavaliers in this one they were swept, but we're talking about a young LeBron. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, hey, he made it there. He made it to the finals, but they ended up losing. But the thing about it is they weren't getting blown out. So what does that say, right? What does that say? He had guys on his team that could actually that could play. Don't just look at those guys as, oh, they were trash. All right. Now You had a guy in Drew Gooden at the time that his the first game Drew Gooden had 14. We know that. Guess who the leading scorer was in the first game? It wasn't LeBron. This was against the Spurs. The leading scorer was Boobie Gibson, and he only had 16. All right. The next leading scorer was a combination of Drew Gooden and LeBron. If you go look at that, they both had 14. LeBron had 14, 7 and 4, and Drew Gooden had 14 and 4. Followed by Pavlovich, who had uh, who had 13 and 5, and then Anderson Virgil, of course. He had 10 points. Not really, and to me, Anderson Virgil at that time during this game, he didn't really have as many rebounds as as I, I would have liked him to. You know what I'm saying? Because usually Anderson Virgil, he was a monster on those boards. You say what you want, right? Now let's look at something else too. Okay. Now you want to sit up here, Shannon Sharp, and you want to talk about, oh, okay, yeah, well, man, this roster, they're just old and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm not even gonna debunk that madness, you know what I'm saying, because it doesn't really even make any sense too. But like I mentioned before, you got the Mavericks, you have the Spurs and everything. The Spurs weren't no spring chickens. Okay, let's go there again. The Spurs were not no spring chickens. They had Michael Finley. They had an old ass Michael Finley, right? You had an old ass Brent Berry. You had an old ass Robert Horry. You know what I'm saying? And then you also had other players that were getting up there during that time, especially when you talk about Tim Duncan and Mono Ginobili. They were starting to get up there. So all this, oh, well, no, they was old, they was old. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? See, let's go on the other end because on both ends you could tackle this on both ends, right? You said, oh man, this reminded me of LeBron's first stint in Cleveland. Oh, okay. Well, guess what? You still have five players in double figures, right? Or four players in that second game. When they only in the third game. I'm sorry. When they in the game that you're looking at right now, when you talk about the Spurs only winning by three, it was 75-72, and at that time they were down 0-3. But guess what? Drew Gooden, he had 13. Pavlovich had 13. Ilgastis had 12 and 18. Zarunas Ilgastis, you know what I'm saying? Who definitely he wasn't no spring chicken either, but he was still able to give you 18 boards. And of course, LeBron had 25, 8, and 7. You know what I'm saying? They only lost by three. Oh, but man, it remind me of the first stint in Cleveland. You act like these guys were getting blown out. They weren't getting blown out in the finals. That's one thing that I can defend LeBron on, right? What's up with it, Jelly Bean? I see you in the building. I seen you in there. I seen you playing 2K22 earlier. You never respond, man, when I talk about the video games and stuff like that, man. What do you rank, man? I want to hear that. Or you just, I don't know. Never mind. Anyway, what do you ranked in 2K22? That's what I want to know. Anyway, but to get back to what I was saying, you have to understand that when you saying stuff and you saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, well, man, this remind me of LeBron's first stint in Cleveland." It can remind you of that because there's been worse Cavs teams that he was on, but this team actually happened to make it, and then they were ranked. Um, I think I forgot what they were ranked, but they were ranked top in the top 10. he can't sit up here. That's why I say that. Shannon, man, he needs a lifetime lids membership. For those of y'all that don't know what lids is, man, it's a cap store. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I say that, he needs a lifetime membership is because LeBron, is steadily on cap all the time. Not LeBron, Shannon is on cap about LeBron all the time. And see, y'all might think that I'm actually like I'm sitting here talking shit about LeBron. No, it's not about talking shit about LeBron. What I'm saying is that Shannon can't come with this type of argument saying that, okay, well, yeah, look at LeBron's first stint in Cleveland and everything. Now, if he's talking about with Kyrie and Kevin Love or something like that, you definitely can't be talking about that because they had players that were hurt too as well, but they were still successful. And on top of that, they came back. They came back from a deficit too as well. So you definitely can't be talking about this. The only reason that you could probably say this is only the fact that they got swept. And the thing about it is when they did get swept, guess what? They weren't really that they weren't even that old of a team. Like, you know what I'm saying? They so and then okay, let's look at this. Let's look at the last game. Let's look at the last game, right? The very last game, they only lost by one. They only lost by one. Um, for all the stuff that they said about the Spurs being old and all this other stuff, because they were still talking about how old the Spurs were and all this too old, too slow. They've been saying that for a while because of the players that they had on their team that were above the age of 30. But Mono Ginobili, he had 27. You remember at that time, uh, Mono Ginobili was killing. He was a terror during that time. Then on top of that, you had Tony Parker, who was 24. They were their leading scorers. And then you had Tim Duncan, who had 12 points. And people got to realize, too, that Tony Parker, he happened to be Finals MVP. Now, let's go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron, he was the leading scorer. But you had Drew Gooden, who was 11 and 11. He was good for a double double, and then you had Boobie Gibson, who had 10 points. The rest of it everybody was in single digits, and Ilgauskas still had 13 rebounds to go along with 8 points. But it was a collective effort because you had guys that had nine, Virgil had eight. But guess what? Still, all in all, they still only lost by 1 point. And the score was not that high. So that goes to tell you that, okay, the effort was there on defense. So Shannon Sharp, you can't sit up here and when you say stuff like, oh yeah, LeBron, oh, this reminds me of his first stint in Cleveland and stuff like that. You can't say that's not a good comparison because they made it to the finals and they were barely losing. And for all the shit that people were saying, oh well, he got swept in the finals. He got swept in the finals and stuff like that. That's why I never really bring that up about LeBron getting swept in the finals, because the one thing that you could say about that Cleveland Cavaliers team is that they gave a good fight, and they were running up against a juggernaut Spurs team who had been together for how long? So we got to put everything like that we say in the context, especially when Shannon Sharp says something like that. So y'all let me know what you think, man. Do y'all think that Shannon is on cap as well as I do? Leave your comments, like the video, share it, subscribe, hit the notification. Polo Sports Talking Entertainment. I'll get at y'all later.